regulation. And when you're completing the sign-in sheet, you'll also know that there's an option to receive some more information about our AMA Youth Run Club. And if you choose to start up a run, walk, and wheel club at your school and use some of our resources to support that initiative, you will also be entered into a draw to win an Apple Watch. And that's for any new registrants. And one of our panelists here I know can speak very closely to that AMA Youth Run Club, so maybe she'll have a little bit more to say about it in a few minutes. And then finally, if you do provide your email with us, we will be sending a follow-up survey to just get your insight as to how effective or maybe ways that we can improve sessions like these. And if you do complete that follow-up survey, we will also enter your name into a draw with the opportunity to win a $250 gift card to be spent at Gopher. So we would really appreciate your feedback, really appreciate you taking the time just to fill in the survey here. And yeah, thanks. So we also want to recognize that Ever Active Schools has a really close and long-standing relationship with the ATA Subject Council of Health and Physical Education. And so we encourage anyone that's here in attendance, if you have not yet used your free membership with the ATA for that subject council, of course, we're a little bit biased being in the field of movement of activity, that we encourage you to use that membership to join HPEC and just be connected to a community that is really focused on supporting educators across the province with health and wellness. That being said, if you've already used your free membership and you're looking to add a second membership at a small cost, then we would certainly again encourage you to consider joining HPEC. They do put out 2 publications every year called the eSprinter, with stories from the field as well as resources and tips and strategies to facilitate health and physical education. So it's a very helpful community to be a part of. All right, so enough of my voice. We have a pretty rock solid panel here to discuss what really is going on in the health and phys ed world. And they all bring very unique perspectives and a very, I think, diverse background. And so I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, and they're going to just take this opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit, just so you know what kind of perspective they're bringing to today's conversation. And so I would like to first introduce Dana Landry.
Hi there, my name is Dana Landry, and I am a classroom teacher for Wildrose School Division. I've been a teacher for 16 years. I'm based in elementary. But I love all grades, obviously. I'm also a huge advocate of physical literacy. I'm the health champion at my school, and I'm also on my school division's wellness committee. And my true goal in life is to make a positive impact on every single student I possibly come in contact with in the most impactful and fulfilling way ever. So I love Ever Active. I'm so appreciative to be here. So thank you for the opportunity. And I can't wait to start the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dana. And Dana's joining us from the Wildrose School Division, and joining us from the University of Alberta representing, I'd like to introduce Dr. Haley Morrison.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Haley Morrison. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Alberta. I'm situated in the elementary education department, but I'm coming to you with experience from teaching elementary, secondary, as well as a consultant back in Ontario. My area of specialty is working with children with disabilities in physical education, but I'm here today to share my experiences teaching how to teach phys ed online, from the stories that my teachers are sharing from their practicum experience, and just trying to help make meaningful experiences in physical education for everyone.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Haley. And from Badminton, Alberta, I'd like to introduce Dave McMaster.
Good morning. My name is Dave McMaster. I work for Badminton, Alberta, the provincial association in charge of delivering the sport of badminton throughout the province. I'm the director of coaching and high performance, and we have, over the course of the last year, introspectively learned so much about the sport of badminton, and we have been forced to change all of our deliveries and our approach within the sport itself. So looking forward to loop you in on all of this, and over to you, Adrian.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dave. And I'm now going to turn it over to our fourth panelist representing and hear from Gopher, John Bile. John?
There we go.
There we go.
Hey, good to see everybody today. Would have been nice to see everybody in person, but we'll do it this way and learn from each other this way too. I'm retired. I taught high school for 8 years, retired from that, and retired as a university prof a number of years ago. Some of you may have seen me with Sierra Ontario, who I was involved with for a number of years, and now with Gopher Sport. And it's a bit of a tough environment right now with COVID, at least challenging, but there are lots of opportunities for us to engage in lots of neat and good things. And so we're going to share some resources with each other. And Adrian, if you could just get on the next slide. Okay, so the first one here is, I do have a slideshow and video with about 55 different games of succeeding at physical education at home. And so you can, oh, actually the next slide. Oh, no, sorry, that's good. That's fine, just leave it. So if you go to my website at www.canadagoforsport.com, you can find that slideshow and PowerPoint and video there. One of the things that I looked up when I was thinking about this presentation is my friend Mark Verbeek has his own channel there, and I'd encourage you to subscribe to it. He's got only 6 videos on there right now, but one of them is, a number of them are just workouts. So he has an explanation of the workout, and then he also does a demonstration of it. Okay, next slide. And so one of his videos is on target games, things you could do just at home as well, or you could do it in the classroom. So again, I encourage you to subscribe to Mark's new video YouTube channel. Okay. Target activities, something you could do at school or at home. This first one, the picture you see there is just hula hoop horseshoes, and basically just rolling the hula hoop and trying to land it on top of the pylon. If you just click one more time, and if you click on that video, so we made this into a race. So you can just click right on the video, I think, Adrian. Okay, so yeah, just click right on the video. Should go.
Looks like it took
all
me
right.
to the next slide.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just, can you just go back one slide? I'll just explain it. So what we did here is, rather than just taking turns, on this particular slide on the right, it's a race. So they just roll the hoop, land it over a pylon. Once both their hoops are done, they run, pick up their hoops and roll it back and be the first one to get to a certain number of points. All right, next slide. And just click it once more. This is Kaboom, a fun activity to do with partners, or you could do this by yourself as well. Basically, you have a bigger ball like a basketball or a soccer ball. You put a beanbag or a tennis ball on top. You drop them both. The little ball or beanbag will bounce high in the air, and you try to catch it. So if you click on that right video, just in the middle, it should go. And it doesn't. Okay. So all right. So the next slide. It just went over 1 million views on Pinterest. So that was my first ever 1 million views. And basically it's using topple tubes, but you could use plastic cups as well. It'd be fun to show this one. So maybe, Adrian, if you just go to the link, and then, okay, this is just now on my website. And now go to the bottom video there. it'll show it.
So here the contest is. They're trying to get 3 their color. And they're getting close. Oh, almost. Oh, so, oh, you got, yeah, we got a winner. We got a winner.
So that was actually just done in Red Deer last year. And if you go to the next slide, this one is kind of exactly the same, except we put 7 topple tubes up and added a dribble. So again, if you just maybe go up to the link, and we can just watch this one for a second as well. So now we're adding dribble to this. So again, easy, something to do at home or at school.
So they gotta get the topple tubes up. They're trying to get 4. And we got, whoa, we got 3 blues. Oh. Oh, we got 1, 2, 3, 3. Oh, and she lost her ball, and oh, no, we're still going, we're still going. Oh, we got 4 yellows. Yeah, we had 4 yellows there.
All right, we can go back to the slideshow. So just kind of a fun little game. We have these topple tubes, but you could use plastic cups as well. One person goes right side up, the other one goes upside down. Okay, next slide. Every Tuesday I post on Twitter and Instagram. Sometimes I post more often during the week, but every Tuesday I at least do it. So if you ever wanted to, if you want to get an activity, a new idea every week, you could join me on Twitter or Instagram. All right, next slide. So we're about resources. This is just an image of my my website. So there's over 700 games on there, and you could look at the fundamentals to train. You could look at target games, invasion games, net games, striking games, and so on. You can read the list. I've also got my workshops on there. So if you wanted to watch a video or see a PowerPoint of my workshops, you can do that at the workshops. Down at the very bottom, there's warm-ups as well. All right, if you go to the next slide. On Pinterest, there's over 700 pins, 23 boards, again, with all the different titles there. And you can see the different options. So if you're looking for a manipulative retain activity or a parachute game or adaptive games or whatever, you can look at the different pins. Okay, next slide. And again, you could do the same thing on YouTube. Maybe if you click on one of the pictures, it should take us to the YouTube channel or the top, doesn't matter. So basically, well, some of the popular ones are on top. And as you scroll, you can just scroll through, Adrian. So there's some thinking activities. So COVID-19 safe, active numeracy, and so on. TGFU series, games with specific equipment. You can see that list there. Locomotor ones, just some fun activities with different games, and some things on theory dealing with leagues and tournaments, and the Margaret Eaton School for women physical educators in the first part of the 20th century in Canada. And so there's lots of resources for you to think about and use as you wish. Again, my main focus is promoting fun, active participation for all. That's what we did with CIRA, and that's what I do currently in my work with Gopher. So I'll pass it over to you again, Adrian. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, John. And we have a 5th panelist that I would love to introduce you to. Lauren, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Lauren Hutchison, and I am fortunate to be the regional coordinator for Western Canada with a program called BOX. BOX is a national not-for-profit that offers free physical activity programming for everyone across Canada, but our focus is mainly on kids in school and getting their 60 minutes of physical activity every day. So traditionally, we offered lots and lots of resources around like lesson planning. So we do have massive documentation available that's all elementary or middle school targeted 30 to 45 minute lesson plans. We also offer 1 to 10 minute body break activities that are called bursts. They've really shifted to the focus of our programming for this year as individualized activities and COVID restrictions have really placed a lot of boundaries on how we can implement physical activity this year. So as a result, Box has actually integrated 20 different resources to address the needs of implementing physical activity in the classroom. So I can talk about the resources in detail, but we're pretty big proponents of like leading by example. So I actually really wanted to lead everybody in an activity today to get us moving, bit of an icebreaker, and show you what it is that Box does and how we can be, oh, I see a Box participant. I love it. Please share your experiences in the chat if you have any that you feel comfortable sharing. But we're going to do a really simple activity today that'll show you something that you can do either in the classroom with your kids, or if you're teaching online, something that's really easy for engagement through a camera. So I'm going to encourage everybody to jump on your cameras right now because we're going to do this together. So I'm going to also ask, if you're not muted, if you can double check that you're muted right now, because I'm going to play some music for you, and it works best if we can all hear together. So before we start, we're going to practice a skill that is going to be the
Sorry to intrude, Lauren, you are muted.
perks of muting everyone, Adrian.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. So just a little cliffhanger then, leave you in suspense. We are gonna do an activity that focuses on squats today. So if you haven't done a squat before, this is a really fun one to teach with your kids because it's literally something we use every day. So we're going to really just focus on pretending to sit in a chair. We're gonna sit our hips back, keeping our knees not traveling over our toes, sitting back like we're touching that chair, and then we're gonna stand back up. So we'll do 5 practice squats together. So we're gonna bring our hips back and down and up. 2 more. 1, we'll do 2 and 3. Okay, perfect. So that's our squat activity. Now, really basic skill that we can do with lots of ages and stages, but music, I think, always makes things way more fun. So this is an activity called Bring Sally Up. If you've heard the song before, it literally, the only lyrics are Bring Sally Up, Bring Sally Down. So every time we hear Bring Sally Down, we're gonna hold that squat until it says Bring Sally Up again. Okay, we're gonna try it together. Can everyone do a thumbs up if you hear me? Yeah? Adrian, can we take it off of speaker view and go to gallery view so everyone can see us? We're gonna do this mad activity together. Hopefully we can all see what we're doing here. All right, I'm gonna turn this way up. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. All right, ready? Bring Sally up, down. Nice. Up, down. Bring Sally up. Bring Sally down. Up, down. Now if we have kiddos who are differently able, we can do this in a wall. Up, down. Okay. One more time. Up, down. Up, down. Now we can add fire feet. All right, on the brakes. As fast as you can go. Up, down. We can do this with our arms too. Up, down. One more time. Up, down. One more. Up, down. Woo-hoo! All right, so that was approximately half of the song. So if we're doing this with really big groups, like that's a good sweat, right? We can add active breaks in there, really, really versatile. So hopefully you're breathing a little heavier now and we got up and out of our seats. I'm going to hand it back to Adrian to start the conversation because I think that's what we're all waiting for.
Absolutely. Thanks you so much for getting us warm, Lauren. Much appreciated. Yeah, so folks, we are going to turn it over in just a moment to just hear from our panelists, and we have some guiding questions that we do want to use, but we also want to hear from you. And if there's something that you're wondering, and maybe you've come to today's discussion with a very specific idea in mind that you want to hear from our panelists. So what we're going to do first, I'm just going to actually turn it over to Megan, and she's going to share her screen because we want to get a little bit of context about where you're joining us from, what experience and what situations are you bringing with you. So we have a little Mentimeter that we want to do with a few quick questions, and we're actually going to be able to see responses. They will be private. We won't see names attached to responses, but we'll just get a sense of whether you're, elementary panel, junior high, high school, and some other information there. I got a little bit of heavy breathing going on right now. Thanks, Lawrence. So Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you, and if you want to share your screen, we'll do the Mentimeter.
Yeah, sounds great. I have dropped the voting link in the chat. It looks like people have already started to use it, which is amazing. We just want to ensure that you get out of this session what you're hoping to get out of this session. So there are 2 questions. Looks like we're getting lots of votes in, which is amazing. All right, lots for in-person programming and school sport athletics. Got 83 votes so far. Okay, let's see what we're looking at for awesome. Lots of elementary school. Perfect. This is extremely helpful. Thank you, everybody, for taking part in voting. We just want to make sure that you get out of this session what you're hoping to get out of this session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and pass it right back off to Adrian.
All right, thanks, Megan. So like I said, we're going to start with an opening question. If there are any ideas or thoughts or questions that come from you in our audience, we do ask if you want to have a specific panelist perhaps address your question based on how they introduce themselves, and maybe you're interested in their context and their opinion. If when you enter anything in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand to speak aloud, Jamie and Megan will just keep an eye on if anyone is raising their hand. And so you have that function with the reaction button at the bottom in your Zoom toolbar. You'll see the raise hand, and we'll keep an eye out for those. So please just try to direct your question to a specific panelist, because if it's not directed or identified as one of them, we'll just open the floor to any of our panelists to share. So we really just wanted to get it started by just wondering, like, what's been working? What have you been seeing and experiencing that's been working, and what have you been hearing? So I'm just going to first invite Dana to share her experiences with what's been working, and then we'll hear from Haley afterwards. Dana, go for it.
Thanks, Adrian. So I'm excited to share what's working, because even though we're in this time where a lot of it feels like we don't have control and there's extra stressors and that kind of thing, the thing that we can control is we can control our connection with our kids. And how I connect with my kids is through movement, physical literacy, and mindfulness. And I just want to share a couple of really quick resources that I use every single day in my classroom that I find really get my kids moving, they get them connected, and now we're at the point where they actually look forward to them and they ask for them when they need those breaks, either a mindful break or a movement break. So some fantastic ones that I use, and yes, I'm promoting Everactive as well because I love the resources. If you don't have these lucky sevens, I highly recommend them. They are fantastic for all age levels. So from the littles to the older kids, they're totally doable. I use them in my classroom, and I also use them in the gym or anytime we're outside or anything like that. And they're like a playing card, right? And then they have movements on them, and there's balances on them, and there's dynamic movements. And you can do number recognition. I know this is a Jack. Of course, I pick a Jack, a face card, when I'm talking about number recognition. But you can use number recognition as well to have the activities. So that is fantastic. Some for the younger ones that I really love are the Shape Safari and the Animoves. They're fantastic ways to get kids moving. And again, in any space, you don't have to have the gym in order to do this. You can do this in your classroom, in the space that you have. And this is just moving around like different animals. And the thing that I love about the Animoves as well is all of these are like Alberta-based animals. And so they actually get some recognition of the animals that are around them as well. Obviously, lots of movement break stuff, recipe cards as well. But another thing that's really working well for me too is mindfulness. We know that more than ever, we have to connect with our kids. We don't always know what they're coming from. We know that their families are under more stress and that they are under more stress. And so to be able to connect with them without that physical connection, which of course, if you're a teacher, it's very hard not to have that physical connection, that hugging and that kind of thing. But what we can do though, is we can have those mindfulness breaks where we can reflect and we just have that pause in order to validate or to identify how we're feeling and for it to be okay. So one thing that I absolutely love, this might be my favorite resource ever, is the Ever Active Social Emotional Shuffle. They are beautiful, and truly you can use them with any grade level. I know speakers always say that, and then people are like, yeah, but not for my age group. My kids are too young or my kids are too old. No, I promise you that these are amazing. It's a whole deck of cards again, and each one of them has a different emotion. And not only does it have an emotion on it, but it has the face of what that feeling is. And so a 5-year-old, when you explain how does guilty feel, right? And you talk about that and they're able to connect to that emotion and share with that and maybe share an experience either verbally or as kids get older in a written form, it's so powerful. I've had my kids do this numerous times where I actually lay out the cards and they walk around the room, socially distanced, of course, and they choose one that they're feeling that day. And then they'll actually do a writing reflection on it. Now I teach grade 4, but even if you use like a visual journal of some kind for younger kids, or you use it as a verbal activity for really young ones that aren't able to write yet, and they are able to share their experiences, these are amazing. And like this guy, look how cute he is, open, right? Who doesn't want to be open, right? So this is a fantastic resource. I highly recommend this one. There's lots more, but I'm not going to take all the time. The last one that I really want to share with you though, and again, I use this in grade 4. It's another Ever Active resource, but you can use it with younger and you can use it with older too, is Embracing Winter. So this is the winter box that they have, and it's absolutely amazing. It has orienteering in it. It has, I just forgot, loose parts in it. These are all programs that Ever Active and ideas that Ever Active has come up with. And it comes to you in a handy dandy box. So as a teacher, I know I don't want one more thing to have to prep and plan, right? It's a little overwhelming, but to have this box come to you and it actually has how you use it and all of the materials that you need, it's fantastic. And lastly, I also follow the Explore 2.4, which is another Ever Active. And what it is I actually aligned it to my curriculum this year. So in grade 4 social, it's Alberta. And if you've ever taught grade 4, it is very hard to get kids excited about teaching Alberta for the entire 10 months that you are in school. And so instead, we really focused on exploring our 2.4. So every single day, my kids and I get outside and we actually track our walking distance in our community. So we're exploring the 2.4 kilometers around our community. And we mark those distances. And we started on a virtual map in Cardston, Alberta, which is Southern Alberta, if you don't know. I didn't actually know about Cardston until this. So If you didn't know, it's okay. And so far, my class and I since September have actually walked, hiked, snowshoed, skied, we track it all, almost 1,600 kilometers since September. And so right now, because kids can't go in a straight line, we have zigzagged the province, it feels like 100 times over. We just got to Fox Creek, and the kids are so excited because they research every single community that we go to or look into going to. And our goal is to get all the way to the northern tip of Alberta by June. And right now we are on track. And being me, we will make sure we get there. I don't care if they have to come in on the weekends. We are getting to northern Alberta. But actually, you know what? I love sharing what's been working because I really feel that if we just choose to focus on that, we are going to realize more and more how much is working instead of what's not working right now. So I'm going to finish talking now and pass it on to the next person.
Thank you for your spirit, Dana. And the unexpected promo of the Ever Active resources. Was not expecting that. Haley, what have you got to share with us? What have you been hearing and what have you been finding in terms of what's been working?
Yeah, and Dana's kind of hit on a lot of the things that I think are going really well. And that's shifting from this mindset of we need to be physically active the whole time and actually getting in tune with our social and emotional side, our spiritual side, having kids problem solve and think cognitively. Like physical education is not just the physical. We want to be doing the physical as much as possible, but we also want to tap into those other areas that children and teens really need right now. Why aren't we asking kids, how do we change this activity to make it work when we need to social distance? Well, guess what? We are. And I'm seeing so many teachers actually say that they're using student voice more than ever. If you haven't been asking them what they think that they can do to change up the activities you would normally do, then that's one of the strategies I would say walk away from. Trying to think non-traditionally about the activities that you teach. So can you do this outdoors, right? Many of our schools are saying, oh yeah, you can do phys ed, you can do this, but it's got to be outside. Well, this coming week, you probably don't want to go outside because I don't know if you've looked at the forecast, not pretty, but ask your students, okay, so we only have the hallway, we've got this extra space in the room. How do we make this work? I want to play this activity. I want to do this with you. Engage them in that problem solving. We're now teaching more about life skills and that part of kind of our health program of studies in physical education. So I'm seeing this awesome connection between health and phys ed really come together, which excites me because I come from Ontario and that curriculum was together when I was a teacher. And so now that I work with pre-service teachers, I'm always trying to say, okay, how can you see other curriculum fit with this? And Dana talked about it. Social studies really does connect, and we can be doing activity through our other subject areas. So that next point is I'm seeing some awesome things related to cross-curricular teaching. Think about your program of studies and how can we be getting students moving in physical education alongside your music education, right? We bridge those gaps of rhythm. We talk about beats. So that connection is happening really well. And I think it just comes back to actually using the creativity that our students have, because personally, I get stuck with a lot of the activities I like to do. And I'm like, oh, I know this one works really well, but now there's restraints. And I'm like, well, how do I do this with all of these different policies and procedures that are put into place? Let's take a class and let's ask our students and to come up with these different ideas. And I think John's video of some of those non-traditional small-sided games are what we need to be doing more in phys ed to begin with, but now we're able to embrace that.
Well said, Haley. Thank you. I'll open it up to our other panelists. If you would like to share anything that you have experienced, that you've been hearing from your communities about what has been working as we continue to navigate this pandemic teaching.
I'll jump in just super quickly. I completely agree with everything that Dana and Haley have said. I think student engagement is critical. This whole kind of era of voluntoldism, I think, is just, we just can't do this anymore, right? And as a response to that, Box has also tried to utilize the power of peer-to-peer mentorship. So we've just released actually a junior leadership program. It's completely free. It's a module based program that helps educators or school communities engage their leadership students. So we've been doing it typically with grade 6 and 7 students, but it's worked from like grade 4 students all the way up to grade 12 students in actually taking on components of the physical activity integration into the classrooms and leading activity themselves. So they take those body break opportunities and offer them for other classes. So we actually have a group in Kamloops, for example, who is going live virtually with other classrooms in their school to lead them in physical activity opportunities. So completely agree with the cross-curricular pieces overlapping academia, but there's also lots to say about the relationship building power in those opportunities too. We're very limited in how we can interact with one another. And I think that's one of the things that everybody, educators and students, are missing this year, is just that opportunity to engage with people outside of your classroom as well, and really feel that school community. So we've seen lots of success in getting students to offer physical activity programming for others. There's really just, it's so special to watch them be able to lead these activities. It's really something that as adults we can't recreate, but we can support the facilitation of. So I think I completely agree. And it kind of fits to that social emotional side as well. And that leadership opportunities are really far and few between this year. We're pretty limited in how we can engage as groups. So if you have any questions about the junior leadership programming, we can definitely talk about it, but everything's available through YouTube as well. And they're really amazing to watch in action. I think the peer-to-peer relationships are so strong. And in the cases of any like people looking in junior high or high schools looking for relationship building with feeder schools, because buddies is not really a thing right now either. It's a great way to engage with other schools as well. So creating kind of those pieces with some of your feeder schools, if you're looking, is great. So that's all.
Lauren, I'm wondering, I know that we've had some activity in the chat, folks asking when we've been identifying some resources, they've been wondering how to access them. Is there any information you could maybe drop into the chat box if folks want to know how to engage with that particular junior mentorship program, or any the YouTube that you were also referring to? Would you be able to put some of that information in the chat?
Absolutely. I'll put the link to the sign up where you would get access to all of the resources that Box offers, which is, it's kind of an intense amount actually. So, but it's really comprehensive. So it hits lots of different targeted areas. So if you're elementary all the way to high school, there's something, and then there's lots of COVID accessible resources targeted at indoor, physical distancing, all that kind of stuff. So I'll drop the sign-in link, and I'll also drop the YouTube channel for anybody looking for some of those resources as well.
Perfect. John?
Just to add to Haley's comment on the cross-curricular, a lot of the Indigenous games are done outdoors. So one example might be the snow snake, where they slide a stick through the snow. To take a broken hockey stick without the blade on it, and you could use that as the stick. And you could do that even if it wasn't snow, you could do it on the grass as well. But I think a good cross-curricular one would be a lot of the Indigenous games, especially the Dene games, that would work really well.
Beautiful, thank you. And thanks to everyone. I see that the chat is starting to get a little bit pumping there, and now we're also using this as an opportunity as community to start sharing what has been working for us and things that have been going on. And this is certainly what we hoped would happen as the conversation opens up with our panelists. So again, feel free to share some things that you are proud to share of, and those successes that you are seeing. Like Dana said, like we really want to highlight those things that are helping us keeping this movement going forward, rather than, you know, dwelling on the things that maybe we're not able to do. So thank you for doing that. I think we will use this opportunity to transition into another question, because we did see that one of the things that were of interest for some of our attendees was this idea of student athletics. And, you know, where are we going and what can we still offer? And I was actually listening to something this morning on CBC radio where there is that growing concern that, you know, as closures persist, we do have to start thinking about that population of students that are seeking athletic opportunities, whether it's the more formal sort of skill development, like long-term athlete development, but also those students we know, like a public education system is a space where we can provide equitable access to all students to experience some form of organized sport. And if we're not able to have those types of gatherings and provide those opportunities, what can we do? And I know that Dave McMaster from Badminton Alberta, this is something that he's definitely been, you know, keeping his pulse on and wondering about. And Dave, I'd just like to introduce you to just kind of open up that conversation. Maybe you can share what your perspective is and what some of your wonderings are.
Thanks, Adrian. I still can't get "Bring Sally Up, Bring Sally Down" out of my head. It's just ringing. Thank you, Lauren, for that. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a lot of problems, and I'm going to speak from a sports perspective, and it's not looking at the provincial landscape in sport. It's no different than badminton is no different than any other sport. Just for those of you that perhaps don't know, Calgary Ringette hockey shut down as of 2 days ago. So there's nothing going on until we get into our next phase of delivery. Right now we would normally have about 10,000 kids crying out for their school badminton teams. And that's not happening, clearly. Didn't happen last year. We've lost 4 international tournaments in the province. We've lost 5 national tournaments, and the list goes on and on and on. So the end result of this is that kids are not doing anything. They're not doing anything outside of school. So how does that present in terms of sport delivery? Well, it puts a big or shifts the onus on physical activity to John and Lauren and Adrian and their deliveries in keeping kids active. Not so much from a piggy sport perspective in delivering technical and tactical implications for badminton or squash or tennis or any other sport for that matter, but just keeping kids active. And while we're looking at potential lights at the end of the tunnel, again, we don't know how that's going to present. We don't know what's going to happen to badminton trials in 2022. We don't know how our clubs are going to survive throughout the course of this pandemic. So dealing with that uncertainty, not only has it shifted the responsibility back to schools and outside agencies, of course, but it's also given us pause to think, well, what can we as a badminton association do to facilitate some of the skill development that normally we would do on a court in a badminton gym, so on and so forth. So we do have a program called Shuttle Time, which is a delivery for school badminton in grassroots exposure for sport. And in this context, there's 92 videos that are about anywhere from 15 to 22 seconds long that articulate different parts of the sport. So what we're embarking on doing now is categorizing those deliveries so that we can compartmentalize them, not necessarily on a skill hierarchy, but what you can do in a classroom, what you can do outside of the classroom, what you can do in the gym. So there's a progression there to instill some sport-specific things and hopefully keep things active. So not to take up any more time, but it is worrisome. It gives us a lot of cause to plan, alternate plan, so on and so forth in coming out of this thing. And hopefully we can get kids, and yes, playing badminton, but get them back to a level of activity that they were accustomed to.
Thanks, Dave. Are you able to, is there any information about that program that you could share with our group in the chat? Or is there a way that they could find out more if that's something that they want to bring into their programming?
Absolutely. We'll have that suite of activities blocked off by next Monday and ready to roll out, Adrian. So if they could contact me, if you could give them my email address, I can ship them out to, you know, whatever their needs are.
Do I have your permission to put your email address in the chat?
You certainly have my permission.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. To bring a little, to keep the conversation with a bit more of a diversity, Megan, who works with Ever Active Schools, is also a ski coach, and she has been experiencing similar challenges in terms of, you know, hearing direct from her athletes who are also students during the day and what that's been like. And we've had some really interesting conversations. So Megan, would you like to just highlight some of those conversations and some strategies or ideas that you were sharing about how we could bridge that gap through athletics and school?
Yeah, of course. I have been an alpine ski coach for about 6 years now. And it has been a great experience, but it is really tough in the COVID world. It's really shifted how we're training. We can't race anymore and compete. And we've been really blessed that it's an outdoor sport, and that has helped a lot for sure. But we still had our challenges as well. In December, our entire team, we had to quarantine for a few weeks because one of the coaches had COVID. And I know that that was really difficult for the athletes. I coach about 13 to 18-year-olds, but we have athletes all the way down to 4 years old, little skiers. But during those weeks, you know, on the regular nights that we would usually have training, I thought, I don't want our guys sitting at home. If I'm going crazy, they're going crazy. So I ran little workout sessions for them, you know, just 45-minute sessions, get them moving over Zoom. And I think that that's a really good way to even get some team athletics moving as well, is that those little workouts that you can do together as a team, it keeps them connected. And what I found is that we'd work out and then we'd spend about 10 or 15 minutes afterwards just stretching. And in that time, the mics are on, cameras are on, it's something low key, getting the heart rate down, and they're able to talk with each other and still feel like they're part of a team and still have some sort of movement and balance in their daily life, which is something that talking to them right now that they just don't have. So then to bring that into the sporting world of school athletics, it is difficult because, you know, you don't have those inter-school competitions and stuff like that. But one idea is that, for example, I'm just going to use basketball for an example for the team. If you have kids who want to be part of the basketball team, no tryouts this year, right? You want to be on the team, you're on the team. And getting them involved in things like weekly challenges that they can do. They can set a video in of them doing drills or activities, and you can have a leaderboard throughout the season of completing these challenges and different extra points for different things you do. And then doing those little workouts with your kids, even if they're elementary school, just getting them moving and taking that time after their workout to just stretch and talk and feel like a team and a community again, which is something that at least my athletes have told me that they've really needed through this time. That is my spiel.
No, and it's great. And it's a really unique, like when I heard it first, Megan, I thought it was a really unique spin on, we acknowledge that we can't necessarily have that inter-school competition piece or that competitive aspect, but there's no reason why we still can't necessarily get together as a group. And even for those of us that are in school, working with students, like you would know your context best in terms of how cohorting is working. Like maybe there is a creative way to get around still bringing a group of interested youth together and having maybe like a sports specific focus that still keeps that fire burning, for that when we can open those doors a little bit more, that you maybe have a larger, more engaged population to participate even further and deeper when those opportunities present itself. So I think it's a really dynamic and unique way, and thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Love that, you know, this has also been an opportunity, just looking at the chat, that we've had a little bit of a connection where a student once being taught by a teacher is now the teacher, and here they are. Don't tell me it's coincidence. This is kismet 100%. So it's lovely to see that little reunion happening in the chat, and also some more sharing of ideas. Lori, Miss OJ, I'm going to put you on the spot, and feel free to say if it's not comfortable to share, but I know that there were some questions about something that you had facilitated that was working for you. Are you comfortable unmuting and saying hello to everybody and maybe talking it through a little bit more from what you put in the chat?
Hi, Adrian. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm just enjoying my coffee and I loved it all. The Bring Sally up. I do that all the time with my students. Lauren, you killed it. Oh my gosh, all my students are like, oh, that's my old phys ed teacher. Yes, that's me. So I really tried to, it was a great, like Haley said, opportunity for me to switch my pedagogy. And in my classroom, I'm all about energy and activity, and I wanted to know how I could translate that to students. And the key for me in this transition was having them student voice and choice, asking for their reflection, giving them something different. So I did wellness bingos where they had choice of what they needed to complete during the week. So we did outdoor scavenger hunts. I would give them different targets. They'd have to submit pictures online as a group. We did dance where I did breakout groups, the dance act. So every time I tried to do a weekly movement challenge, and they would submit through Flipgrid, and then they would have to engage with another student. So it wasn't just sending their video in. I gave them different partners specifically, and then other days it was free for all. They could comment on who they wanted. So I did like a track Olympics. I did a whole, like even in the winter, and they went out with their shoe put and shoe discus, and they had to measure it and submit their videos. I gave prizes. I mailed them little cards to their home. We did a ping pong home tournament. I think there's a video online about a curling one. I mean, I haven't done that yet, but I should have. And what else have I done? Anyways, I have a bunch of videos that I created to teach them what the movement challenge was. One was hand-eye coordination, one was a repetitive skill. And honestly, it gave them something different to look forward to. So I wasn't teaching basketball in the true sense of what it would be, but there was still skills. So I had a sock shot challenge, and they had to go back and forth between two baskets. So I'm happy to share my emails in the group, and thanks for giving me a shout out, Adrian. You guys are doing great, and we're in this together, and there's no right answer. So whatever you're doing is enough. It's enough.
Lori is a beautiful soul. I've been doing my master's with her, and I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. And I'm so happy that you chose to come this morning, Lori, and that you could share some of your just fantastic knowledge and wisdom and how you build that connection with your kids. So thank you so much. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, so Lori was very generous in sharing her email in the chat. And for those that maybe aren't as familiar with Zoom, and maybe this is a little bit of a new experience, John has also been popping in some additional resources and references. So if you open up the chat, you'll notice the 3 ellipses or the little dots. If you click on that, it gives you the option to save the chat. So if you feel like you're trying to scroll through everything and you can't find the email address, or you can't find that particular link, if you just click save chat, it typically will save to a folder on your desktop on whatever device that you're currently using. And then you can always just go back and find those links, find those email addresses, and just kind of sift through it in your own time. I recognize that we're about 3 minutes out, and I just want to share a few more things before we go, and obviously give a big shout out to our presenters as well. So just bear with me here, folks. Dana did reference our recipe card lesson plans, and we just wanted to highlight this because it is available as a free download on the Everactive Schools website. So the link for our online store was put into the chat, and there is a mix of both paid and free resources there. But these recipe card lesson plans, we still have physical copies that we're happy to ship out if you want to come in to Edmonton and pick them up from our office. But you can just download PDF versions of them for free on the website. So they're a great tool to just find activity ideas. They're structured in alignment with the Alberta curriculum. So we've got you covered there in terms of outcomes and just hitting all those markers. We've also just released, I want to say approximately or almost soon to be 20 podcasts. So this is a new resource that Everactive Schools is rolling out in partnership with the Workland School of Education in Calgary. These podcasts were designed to support the pre-service teachers in that education program, but now they're available for everyone to take in. So it's a range of very diverse conversations around school health and around health and wellness. Jamie, who is on our chat this morning, is one of our esteemed hosts. So you get to cozy up to his subtle tones and just listen to some great question and answers that he facilitates with guests, as well as Dr. Elizabeth Tingle, who is a professor, I believe, in the Faculty of Education at Workland as well. So wherever you subscribe to podcasts, whether it's on Apple or Spotify, if you search us up, Everactive Schools, the pod class, feel free to take a listen. It's a nice, easy way to, do some laundry, wash some dishes, take a pet for a walk, and listen to some good content. And then again, just a final reminder, if you are looking for ways to engage your school community in some activity that can be done in a safe, socially distanced way, we do have our Youth Run Club, which we are branding more as a walk, run, and wheel club, not just about running. We still have staff that are able to facilitate sessions for you if you would like Everactive Schools to come out and host some form of like a fun run. We can still provide that opportunity if it's possible at your sites. We will be coordinating a virtual fun run in the spring. So if you do register your school to be a run club, we have some prizes for you that we can mail out. And again, if you are a new registrant, we will also be adding your name for a chance to win an Apple Watch. So if you've selected that box to receive more information about the Run Club, that'll get you started on getting registered. And again, that was in the sign-in sheet that was provided earlier, and that's available in the chat if you haven't signed in as yet. So thank you very much to our presenters. I see that we're right at 10 o'clock. Thank you for the activity and the engagement in the chat box. You are a beautiful audience. Please let us know how this session went with your feedback if you agree to receive our follow-up survey. I'm sorry I can't be a little bit more in depth with this, but everybody enjoy the rest of today, enjoy the rest of tomorrow on your convention time. Be well and be sure to get outside. Thanks again to all our panelists.